manifesting my fear of criticism. Hi, everybody. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe. Today we're talking about just how high is the sky? Is it really the limit? And that's just a fun kind of title to talk about imagination. Are we putting it to use? Are we limiting ourselves because we're not allowing ourselves to think past what's in front of us or think beyond what our initial goal was? Happens too when we get really close to accomplishing a goal. And what do I do now? Because we didn't sit back and ask some basic questions. Is this really done? Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes when we hit the goal, so much more can happen. How do I know this? Well, I was in a team meeting yesterday, and one member was talking about how she had this habit of getting close to something and not finishing. She had real difficulty with follow through. And one of the things that she liked about working with me was that we finished things. And as we delved a little deeper in that, meaning that she just kept talking, she said, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure where we're going, but I'm okay with it. Hence, my question to you is, when did you stop asking why, where, how, who, when? Because that's what I was doing. We were talking about, it was just part of the project. I'm saying, well, when we get here, then what? Well, why don't we do something different? Or in the time when we were putting together the original product, it was, well, why do we have to stop at this? Why? We don't. What else can we do with it? Where can it go? Who else can use this? Who else can be a part of this? And for her, that's what helped to get her moving forward. All right, so this is what happens when we have a drop-in. My apologies, it actually worked now without an image attached to it. So let me try to find the imagination quote by Napoleon Hill, because it is absolutely wonderful and has a terrific image with it. Because really, that's what we're talking about. We could try this one. All right. So I brought that up, your big opportunity, baby, right where you are now, because while she and I are working on a specific project, there's an end goal in mind, clearly defined. That's why we got together and said, yeah, we can work on this together. And as we got to working, I was asking, okay, now what? I was asking, why would we stop there? What else can we do? Who else can this serve? And the result of that was that yesterday, the product's done. We're beginning the marketing on it now. So it's ready for purchase. And yesterday she said, this is one of the first things that I followed through on in a long time. She'd been having difficulties. And we talked about that. And then we talked about, I was asking those other questions, and she started asking them because she was seeing what else we can work on. What else can we do? Who else can I work with? And in some instances, as we both saw, it was, all right, so Charlene's going to work with some other people over on these. You are going to go work with so-and-so on this other project, but you know what? We could cross-promote because they're complementary. And wow, honestly, when we first started, I wouldn't have been able to sit down and say, all of these things are possible. Didn't have anything to go on to to make it more, right? Until we started working together and working through some things and getting some of the product done and asking the questions and realizing with an open mind that, there's other possibilities here. One reason why I like the quote that's in the box, your big opportunity may be right where you are now. If you are limiting your imagination, if you are saying, this is all I've got right now, all that's in front of me, you have just put yourself in a box, in a cage that you can break out of, but you have to be aware you did it. All right, so I'm talking from experience here. I've been there where I've been so focused, I have put myself, I can't see past the box edges. I can't see through the bars of the cage. I am where I am, and that's all I've got. And by gosh, I'm going to end up trying to be happy with it. And that's where, if it goes too long, I'm not talking about focus. I'm not talking about staying on track. I'm talking about limiting ourselves. So well, right now I'm in the middle of a product launch. Or I should say it's launched, and people are buying. I've got live workshops happening. People are attending. Just had one yesterday. That was after the team meeting with somebody else, and it went very, very well. And we had a quick debrief, it was a co-instructor, and she and I talked afterwards for a quick debrief. And it was, she was obviously asking these questions of herself. Why don't we do this? How about when we are done and we finish this series, where else can we put it? Who else will appreciate it? What other market should we focus on? And those are great questions. We'll think about that as we move forward. And we decided that when we're talking to people, keep an ear out. You know, who are you? What do you do? How do you do it? Yeah, this would benefit you or people like you. We'll make note of it in the next meeting that we have. We'll review it. So maybe a question I ought to ask to you is just, how high is the sky? Is it really the limit? Are you in a place where you could actually have big opportunity sitting right in front of you and you're not seeing it? Do you think that's even possible? Do you think that's possible that you are in a place where there is opportunity, big, and you're not able to see it? Have you ever been in a place where suddenly you saw the opportunity and you just, wow, there it is? I've been there, and my imagination limited me. I saw opportunity and I never asked the questions of, how can I do that? I didn't ask the question of, why not me? Where can I go to get some assistance? Where can I go to get questions answered? I saw the opportunity and I turned it off for myself because I didn't ask those questions. I limited my own thinking and abilities because of that. And chances are good I'm going to do it again. I don't have this stuff nailed down. And yet I can wholeheartedly, honestly tell you that to this point, I can ask those questions, and my mind has been open, and I've been using my imagination, and great things have been happening. I just know that I'm not spot on with this every day, all the time. Hence, we have Morning Mindset Cafe to help keep my mind on track, your mind on track. Let's think about possibilities. Anybody want to join me in the open seat? Feel free. Talk about imagination, asking those kind of questions, being flexible along the way, seeing things as you're moving forward. I know that a lot of people can get caught up in ideas. And it's funny, nothing will annoy me more than after sitting with somebody for a while, they finally say out loud, well, I'm just the idea person. I'm just the idea person. I'm like, yeah, ideas are a dime a dozen. Just because you thought of it doesn't mean that it has to happen. You got to think about it a little bit more. Let's talk about it. And can it happen? How? Is it something you can attach yourself to? Just an idea. How much you'd sit and tell me that you are the idea person, tells me that you're not interested in actually doing anything. How's that? And we'll have Matt. There you are. Good morning, Matt. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How are you this morning?
The word disenthrall basically means to set free. So I think
I like
that. Yeah. So when we have limitations set in our minds of how far we can go, sometimes we have to disenthrall ourselves from a perspective that limits us to be open to greater possibilities, such as, well, we've stepped on the moon, so the sky can't be the limit anymore, right?
we have a rover on Mars.
Yeah. They're already talking about putting astronauts on Mars and the whole journey it takes to do that, the years.
More than that, they're signing up people to make a colony.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime, and my name's not on there. No. But really, you want to know why? It's not that I wouldn't love to be on Mars and the adventure that it entails. It's the getting there. I'm thinking you can't give me enough to make me pass out enough to not get car sick on the way up. And I just, that's what goes through my mind. And I said, no, I'm not going to put my name on there.
I'm wearing glasses, so I'm already not able to become an astronaut because of my sight. I think there are certain limitations that they set for individuals that are going.
You're going to have the physicality. Yep. You're going to have some of that extra training, even as a passenger. You're just going to have to. Yeah.
But they already have. I mean, it's great when they're showing all of these places what they're doing. There are little kids that are going, I want to be an astronaut, and by the time they grow up, they'll already be thinking about that. However long journey it takes, years long to get all the way to Mars.
Right. So what about you? Have you been involved in anything where you saw a big opportunity right where you were and jumped on it and went through with it? I only ask that because I have a feeling that you're one that does that.
Yeah, I like the TV show I did for WSKG when I was in high school. That was like a random opportunity for me. It was a math teacher in class announced that they were looking for a co-host for a kids show, and I was like, well, I jumped on that decision not thinking that it would influence the next 2 years of my life. That was a long commitment.
Didn't think that one through.
Yeah, and that was one of those situations where I did that, and then I went to college for communications, and I was learning things in class that I already learned from volunteering to do the kids show. So that was something that I'd never done before. And then as well, when I was done with FCCLA for my first term, they invited me for a second officer term. And I did that again because I was like, wow, maybe I can be more of a mentor this time because I've already done it and I can help the officers rather than having it as a first-time experience. So I did that. I jumped into music during high school too. I'd never done singing music. So I did choir and jazz choir my junior and senior year. My friend wanted me to audition on the last 2 days of school of my sophomore year. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. And that was another 2 years of my life. So yeah, I guess the question is, in the moment, is it whether or not we commit to it? We say yes or no. Sometimes saying yes is eye-opening rather than dismissing it very easily.
Well, I like that. Yes. So it's not just those questions. It is the answer. How about we put this?
I'm always looking for opportunities to, where I am. You said your big opportunity may be right where you think you are. I guess maybe the key is noticing the opportunities that you have. I think I'm always open to that. I want to read The Dip. I don't know if you've heard of The Dip by Seth Godin. He talks about when you commit to something, whether or not you stay with it or you drop it for something else.
Right.
But there's a point at which you make that decision, and there are situations where I would be ready to do that, and then like I'd have another opportunity arise, and I'd be like, is it worth dropping this one to pursue that one, or should I stay with what I'm doing right now? And I've done both. I've dropped one and pursued another.
And it's all related to how much desire you have behind the opportunity you're currently in, right?
Yeah.
How motivated are you to keep persisting, to keep going? We have that. Plus we have, is it in line with where I'm going? Because right now I'm really dedicated, focused on, and my emotional attachments there on these projects that are related to getting me to where I need to be, want to be, and that is where I'm going to be with my business and with me. So if it's in line with that, I'm happy to take a look at it deeper.
Yeah, I definitely don't run a business yet, but I can see what you mean with staying on the same path. For me in the past, it's been more like, how many things can I accomplish before I commit to a specific path? But I can see the tremendous value in that, and staying with the direction and making sure the opportunity does help you in that pursuit, because you don't want to be stretched too thin.
No, and also I'll tell you, it's a demotivator. Those distractions of thinking, we've talked about shiny object syndrome, going after the sparkly stuff, the this will work, and not having a clear vision of where you're wanting to go. That's why you think this might take you there. But also it has to do with not just having the clear vision, but really understanding what the vision is, understanding this is what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
And when you have that, then you can see the opportunities that arise out of different situations, and you're sometimes quickly, sometimes not, able to answer yes, so that because it's in line with where you're headed. But really what keeps us motivated, keeps us moving forward, keeps us on track, honestly, is action. And just want to throw that out there, because you're not allowing yourself to be distracted. And if you are distracted for not too long. So that's one of the key factors of having a successful business.
I blogged yesterday about, before I hop out, I blogged yesterday about being an in-betweener. And I was thinking that the problem with being an in-betweener is you're never really saying yes or no. You're sort of aimlessly wandering between the two, and you never make that commitment. So, right, there is no clear vision that gets you to say yes to this and no to this, and take opportunities that are in alignment with what you're trying to make. Like the change that we're trying to make is really important, because if we have an opportunity that doesn't align with the change we want to make, then it's a different road that we're going down, and that can definitely distract us, like you said.
I love that. In-betweeners. I do.
I like the shiny object syndrome.
You like that one?
I like that, because it's like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's
that's
this?
that's exactly what it looks like. I've watched people do it. I've actually,
That's
so
great.
so in all honesty, I have to edit yesterday's class that was recorded, and it's because the student it was a constant here, there, like, oh Lord, okay, we're gonna. All the while I'm thinking, I'm glad this is recorded and I can edit this part out. Yeah, it was like, wow, really? You went there? What? Because you try being the person that does it. Now here's the interesting part. A lot of people will suddenly claim to be ADHD, and it's no. That's not. You're just looking at the pretty stuff here.
It's not ADHD. It's just we live in the age of distraction and intense stimulation from so many different places, and we live in the age of now. So it's no wonder that my generation's extremely distracted.
Yes, and my gosh, can you benefit from this? Even with imagination, I'm not talking about imagining everything, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about asking those questions to take what you have that you're working towards, can it be more? Is there opportunity in there that it can be more than what you're working towards? Sometimes it can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
So you have a blog post about in-betweeners. Did you do a video too? Got to ask.
a little bit, yeah. I was
Okay.
thinking about. I read a blog post from a YouTuber named Hannah Witten. She was talking about the introvert extrovert thing, and where we get our energy from. And I thought about that yesterday too. Like, a lot of people get their energy from other people in social situations, and a lot of
That's
people
my
get
husband.
from solitude. Like, I get my energy from solitude, but I appear extroverted in certain social situations because I'm so outspoken and I like to speak. I'll go out on the dance floor a little bit and dance with everybody. Like, I expend energy, but after social conventions, I feel drained. I need reflection, solitude time. So I blogged a little bit about that too. All
Yeah,
right.
that's really a good, clear definition. Good to see you, Matt. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Good to see everybody. Have a good day.
So,
Enjoy.
anybody else want to jump in? Are you answering yes to opportunities? Are you even seeing them? Can you unleash your imagination long enough or activate it? Activate it, right? To ask these questions. I tried dropping in another link and it won't let me. Why, where, who, how, and when. So, anybody else want to jump in? Say, hey, talk about imagination, talk about did you limit yourself? Did you have opportunities that you can see now and are able to learn from that? Maybe. The possibilities, right? And again, I'm not talking about the idea person. I'm talking about having the idea and moving forward with it. And sometimes fleshing it out along the way, right?
Okay, it's getting annoying because I got on the camera instead of going this way, I was this way. So I had to straighten my computer.
And then we have Brian. Good morning, Brian.
Bright shiny squirrel.
Yes. Purple squirrel.
So yeah, I know a couple of people that have lost opportunity, myself included. One person was offered to buy stock in Apple before it ever got started. Back when Steve was still in his garage and just starting out, was offered the opportunity to invest in the company, wouldn't do it, had the money, totally lost out. Then the same person thought that tea was a bad idea. So they had the opportunity, I think it was Arizona tea. They had the opportunity to invest in that. She goes, oh, that'll never sell. People can make that all by themselves. And guess what?
Well, those are opportunities that she looked at and said, that doesn't fit me right now. Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. So she at least asked some of the questions, I would think, right, to be able to make the no decision based on her own views at the time.
I just thought it was interesting how we could have 20/20 hindsight, and we can look after we're here from back there and go, yeah, maybe we better take this investing thing a little more seriously.
Exactly. Now we can learn from what we had back there, right?
And learn from other people. So yeah, it's always interesting to me.
Yeah, I keep trying to drop in a link again, and it's not letting me. So just ignore my distraction here. My apologies.
You're right. I'm drinking coffee, and the logo isn't up front. So there you go.
Let's see here. I'm going to try one more, but now this is interesting. If I can get it up, because it's a great picture. By asking those questions, we're talking about two things now: activating imagination through curiosity.
Curiosity is interesting because I think we stifle it now. I think
I don't know that we're just now stifling it, to be honest with you.
well, you get the curious kid,
Mhm.
you drug him up with ADHD Ritalin, ADHD drug.
No, not even that. No, I want to think about when you're a kid and you're asking, why is the sky blue? Oh, why does it work like that? And your starter questions, right? How many times did we bombard people with questions? And you see it in little ones now. And people get annoyed. I've answered that. I've answered that. I've answered that. So they either stifle you by telling you to stop asking those silly questions, or, like in my case, it's in the book. Go look it up.
Actually,
in the book.
my mother taught me to read after they told me I wouldn't be able to read
Mm-hmm.
because of dyslexia, which I no longer have. And she bought a set of encyclopedias. And if I asked, and those were in the day before Google, and so yes, I am that old. See the gray. She would, if I asked her why was the sky blue, she would go, "Let's go look it up," and she'd go with me together, and we would sit there with the encyclopedias and look it up. And it didn't matter the question; if it was in that encyclopedia, we looked it up.
There you go.
If I
I had
started
the same kind of background.
when I started going through puberty, I started asking questions. She bought me a whole set of books dealing with puberty. So it was interesting the input I had compared to my peers or other students, that they didn't have that input from a parent that was at home.
Right.
And they were actually coming to my house to read my library.
I could see that.
Not because of the books on puberty, but it was interesting. They would come to my house to study, and we had kids. It was a lot of times I would wake up in the morning and I'd find kids in sleeping bags. My dad had a whole closet full of sleeping bags in the hallway. And we would go into the hallway and these kids would pull out those sleeping bags to stay at home. So they would be knocking on our door at 2 a.m. in the morning just because home life stunk. and we had kids of alcoholic parents and everybody, and they knew our place. Our home was a safe place. So it was very neat environment to grow up in, because I never knew when I got up in the morning who was going to be at the breakfast table. and all the other
That'll
kids,
teach you flexibility.
all the other kids would always be in the living room. She would never let kids invade our personal bedroom or anything like that. So it was a very neat place to live, or way to grow up, because you weren't sheltered from problems and other people. So
Okay. So you were encouraged, as I was, to ask these questions.
oh, absolutely.
Then what happened to me is I hit the working world and I was discouraged from asking these questions because they didn't want independent thinkers. You know, my first job was when I was 14, and it was, no, this is how you do it. Why? No, there's no why to it. This is how you do it. Why? Can we do this better? No. This is how you do it. You know, so discouraged from asking the questions. And then, of course, in my own career, continues that we're stifled. So many of us, right? When we're in those environments of somebody else putting us in a cage or stifling us, just by making it difficult to ask those questions, ignoring you, rebuffing you, or saying that, what a waste of time. Or the old adage of, well, we've always done it this way. And they're not interested in anybody else looking at something differently or asking these kind of questions.
I always enter a situation like that or expound upon it doing the, what if we did this to increase this? This being profit, to this being, what if we put a sign out front in the morning to increase traffic? So it was the way I think I was taught to ask things, because Mom would make me rephrase questions a lot of times. What if the sky was purple instead of blue?
Right.
What would
She activated your imagination.
What would that take? What was another one she did? What if we didn't watch TV? Television, for a lot of people, is an imagination killer, because everything.
Now, there's a good point.
Everything is there. Everything you could
You
imagine
don't have to think.
is put out in front of you. And I always, she would have us watch like a Star Trek episode. And then she would ask me, how would you rewrite that? How would you reinvent that portion of the character, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And her favorite was Spock, because he was totally emotionless. So
Mm-hmm.
emotion wasn't into the situation. So what if you made Spock emotional? What if you made him into an emotional basket case? How would that work? So, yeah, it was interesting.
So are you able to take that into your world today?
I think so. I think, number one, I never stifled a question from my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in a stupid question. If the
Mm-hmm.
sky is blue and you want to know why, that's not stupid, and you can ask it 100 times, and I'll just say, go look in the book. You can read. I wouldn't define words for her, I'd say, or spelling. I'd say, do the first 3 letters and then say, go look it up. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching you, I'm not telling you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think television stifles the imagination.
I can agree with that.
I miss the encyclopedias, and I'm not diminishing, there's that word again. I'm not diminishing the internet or having all this information at our fingertips, but I miss the old books. I miss the paper turning the page going, wow, look at that. Wow.
Well, I've got them with me, or I've got the library. So I've got the books available.
But they don't print them anymore.
The books are there.
No, they don't revise them, because everything is now on the internet, so nobody buys them. They don't update them. They don't Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't.
That's true. That's one of them that hasn't been updated. There's still other reference materials, though,
Yes.
that are available.
Well, it's just like turning in a resume nowadays.
Right.
You don't go to the place to turn it in. You look up their website online, or you and you go to Walmart to turn in a resume. They set you in front of a computer. Here you go.
Oh. Okay.
So
that's the way it is. Can it be better? Can it be different? Is there something that triggers in me that I want to do something differently to offer? Is there an opportunity? No. So I move over to something else, and it's an instance out of Napoleon Hill. He's saying the founder of Piggly Wiggly. I love this story. As a low-level employee, he visited a cafeteria and he got the idea that the same techniques could be applied to the grocery business, the self-help, self-serve, right? And he was ridiculed, but he was convinced that the idea was a good one. And I think that's where it has to begin. Not just the idea, people, But if you have the idea and suddenly you're convinced that it's a really good one, then the questions come in. Then the expansion. What does that look like? How can I? Where can I go to get more information? And he persevered, and he became the father of the modern supermarket. He called it a Piggly Wiggly. Now, first off, I think it takes a lot of imagination to come up with the name of Piggly Wiggly for a supermarket. Just gotta say that, all right? Considering that it's not all about pork or bacon, right? So I don't know. I'm going to look deeper into that one to see how in the world did you come up with that name. It's probably the name of his kid's stuffed pig. But here's the interesting thing about this whole piece that I'm reading out of Napoleon Hill Foundation and the thought for the day. Those who study such things, let me back up just a little bit. So he's the father of the modern supermarket. It is often true that a great idea alone is not enough to achieve success. Just establish that. I realized that, and I said that. Implementation may require as much as or more imagination than coming up with the idea originally. Hence the questions. Those who study such things, however, report that when you have a really good idea, even if you can't prove it, you will intuitively know it's good. And if you're convinced, stick with it. Others will eventually recognize the value of your idea. That's what I found interesting. Can you trust your intuition? If you can, then you are going to know and be convinced it's a good idea. Then you really put the imagination to work and persevere to make it happen. And that's how things happen. That's how things change. That's how new things come about. That's how these questions come into play to expand the imagination, bring other people in, all the things that come in. So why are we limiting ourselves?
So here's the question, though, and I always play the devil's advocate, if you will. Why did it have to change? Why did it have to change from the little house on the prairie, little store in the corner where you walk in and you say, I need sugar, I need this, I need that, I need this, and you're not served.
Because somebody thought it needed to change. It succeeded because other people said, yeah, I like that.
I wonder if we could go backwards. I wonder if it would be possible in this generation to take the precepts that we had and introduce something all over again. I wonder if it would work.
Why isn't it?
I don't know. It was just a thought.
Well, see, it's just a thought now.
Yeah.
But if it's an idea that you can see really is worthy of putting forth the effort and it makes sense and intuitively you know it's a good idea, it needs to be pursued.
I mean, this is a personal example, but how many times have you pushed through a grocery store and it's all crowded, you're banging carts together? What if you had people that were set at the front of the store that were hired? You just go to a computer screen, pick out your groceries. They go through the store, get your groceries, bring it back up front. You pay for it and leave.
They already have that.
Where?
I have a grocery store here, Value Market. I can get online now and I can put my order through online. They'll gather it all up and I can either have it delivered, not in my area because I'm out of their delivery area, but I can go pick it up.
Wow, I never knew that. That's awesome.
Those who takes advantage of that, you take it. Those who are within the delivery area are the homebound, and for whatever reason, it could be temporary, could be permanent, but they now can have and have for years. That particular market has in this area has offered it. You could call your order in before the internet. And they had delivery, but now it's like I say, I could order everything I wanted. If it was on my route, if I was if I were closer to it, I could do that. They'll pull it all and I can go pick it up. They have personal shoppers now. There's services, personal shoppers.
Do you
that
pay
know you
extra for that, or
pardon me?
Do you pay a little extra for that, or no?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't use the service. I know about it. You know, I know about it. I don't use it though. So it's being done, and it's been around for years in this area. And I mean years before internet years. You know, if I recall, it was sometime in the 80s when it really was known, and that was for the personal delivery, small delivery service area. But then it grew a bit. Still not big, because I'm in a rural area, and I'm probably only, well, I know I am. I'm only 15 miles from the downtown area, but this is a strange area. I'm in foreign territory because I'm across the bridge, I'm across the river, I'm in another state, and oh my gosh, they might have to drive up a hill. So that just something that's them though. But so see, the idea was taken by somebody, and it was expanded on, and they asked the question, well, why don't we do this? Yes, this is a really good idea. Let's move forward with it. Now, when they first opened up the grocery store, I doubt that was in their plans. No, but that doesn't mean that along the way you aren't inspired and motivated to do bigger, better. And it's by asking the questions and paying attention to what's around you. There's opportunity. Oh, there it is. Can I fit this in here? Yes. How? How can we do this? Right? So yeah, you have that. And then you have personal shoppers. That's available to you. With regard to the maybe the retro of having the old-fashioned type of experience, be it in an eatery or a shopping experience, we have those. Those have worked. Bringing in a combination of the both. I'm thinking of some of the things that I've seen around the world. So yeah, again, if you can think it, I think that's the key, right? If you can think it, it can happen. The key is, are you willing to put a little bit more behind the idea and flesh it out so it's no longer just an idea, but it becomes more, and it gets fleshed out, and the imagination gets sparked, and you ask these kind of questions, and you get people involved, and you're convinced it's a good idea. Others will come along eventually. You'll find them.
I agree.
That's my thought.
I'm not a big one for change. Have you noticed? I don't necessarily like the way we have to adapt to the changes, because some of the old ways I feel are better than the new ways. And
I have the same experiences, and it's because my own experience has proven that the old way is better in this instance.
yeah,
Now, if it's under my control, then it's going to be done a particular way. If I have no influence, if I have no ability to affect the way something is being done, then that's when I have to take a look at my part and say, am I going to frustrate myself over the moon on this? To the point of such distraction, nothing else is going to get done? No. I'm just good. No. Good for them. They'll learn, move on. I mean, that's the simple way of putting it. Of course, there are things that I have emotional attachment to, and it takes a little more to back away. It takes a little more, what can I do? Because sometimes I do have to say, right now in this moment, what can I do? Nothing. All right. I'll table that for when I can.
Honestly, my thing with going back to school was the Windows math thing, because I was so attached to Windows, and I loved my ability to have the knowledge to use it. And they introduced something new. I don't want new. And so now I love Mac. So, and then I went to Linux.
So what you're telling me, let me see if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly. What you're saying is that you don't like change. You don't like new things. You don't like when somebody is presenting something and it is different than what you're used to, starkly different, or that you've seen, well, I've seen something like that and I know it's not going to work. And yet, when you persevere through the change, you're better for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'll balk. I'll say, oh God, really? Oh, I've been through this. And yet, I mean, the reality is either I'll say, oh God, I've been through this, or that, no, I've seen that before and it's just not cool. Not a good idea for me. And yet I'm a different person today than what I was before. What's being presented really isn't what I was talking about. I'm closing my own mind to it. I'm not open enough to take a look and see, is there something that's beneficial to me in this? And I do put that word in there, that beneficial, because I think that most things that are thrown in front of me in the world that I live in today I need to have a bit of an open mind about. And the way I look at it is it beneficial to me right now? No, then I'm not going to waste my time worrying about it. I'm going to put my thoughts elsewhere. Yeah. Good morning, Nelson. Welcome.
Good morning. Okay, so I had to weigh in on sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Case in point, I hate all the touchscreen iPhones and Android telephones.
Amen.
I absolutely refuse to part with my BlackBerry. Okay, BlackBerry passports. Why? I've got big thumbs. I like the fact that I can type away, and I did try and switch a few years ago. Every time my kids' friends would come over, I'd say, "Give me your phone," and I would try it. And every time I typed a letter, no matter what, with the auto correction, couldn't.
It wasn't a good thing.
It's a huge learning curve to get past, and I hate it, and I refuse. I don't care that I can't have all the apps on this thing, but it serves me well, and I am not going to change on that. Thank
goodness you don't have to. There's not a requirement for it.
No, there's not. There's no requirement for it, and
that's what I love about it.
I like what I'm using, and I'm not going to change. And I get all kinds of snickers and laughs when people see me. You're still walking around with that thing? I don't care. I went from the BlackBerry Bold. Yeah, my wife's got one of those. Okay, is that the Motorola Flip? Is that the Motorola V220?
Are you kidding me? It's an LG.
Okay, my wife's
not that fancy.
My wife's got a Motorola V220 flip phone.
She's even got the little antenna.
Yeah, she's got that too. I've got a bunch of them in the drawer here. If I could find it, I've got a bunch in the drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And
but if they work, so that's not the thing here, though. I mean, so
this is the one my wife's using.
Exactly. So what we do is we say, are the tools that we're using now viable? Do they work for us? Beautiful.
That's what I said. If
they don't work, though, Nelson, if they don't work and the alternatives aren't acceptable, which actually I'm on your side. I don't like touch screens. They ick me out. Nothing worse than going into a coffee shop and they have the touch screen to pay. And I said, have you cleaned the screen?
I went from the.
They look at me like I'm crazy. I carry hand sanitizer.
I went from the BlackBerry Bold, which had this really small screen, to this one. This one solved my problem. My problem was every time I was out of my office and I would get a Word document attached or a PDF, I couldn't read it on that. With this square, you can. It's better than an iPhone, in my opinion. It's better than an Android for that. It's just way easier to read. And the only mistake they made was they should have made this phone on the Android system versus the new one, which is the Priv, because the Priv is the slider phone, and you have the option of the the keyboard or the touch screen. But they didn't make it wide. They made it in the shape, I think, of almost like an iPhone. But I think BlackBerry's on the way out in terms of making hardware. They're concentrating more on software. So I don't think they're going to be making many more devices in the future. It's too bad because they had the whole market to themselves way back when they invented the smartphone. The problem was Mr. Balsillie was just very busy trying to acquire a hockey team and didn't pay attention to business. And when Steve Jobs came out with the iPhone, he was totally blindsided. So
a lot we can learn from that.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can learn from that. Watching other people, asking the same questions.
Well, he
thinking to
actually
ourselves, how can we see what's happening, opportunities, right? That other people aren't taking. What can we do ourselves?
He was, when the iPhone came out and BlackBerry basically, back in 2007 when the first iPhone came out and BlackBerry dominated the market. They had 100% market share because that was the only game in town. A reporter stuck a microphone in Jim Balsillie's face and said, "What do you think of the new iPhone?" And he said, "I'm not afraid of that thing. Everybody wants a keyboard," and laughed it off. And that was the biggest mistake he made because, look what happened.
Okay. So again, what can we learn from that so that you and I and, Brian, when we move forward with today, when we look at people like that, are we doing that to ourselves?
He totally did it to himself because he didn't pay attention.
I'm not talking about him, Nelson. I'm talking about us.
Yeah.
I'm talking about taking that lesson and saying, so when did I recently do that? And learning from our own maybe closed mind or slough off or, rebuff somebody's idea, or somebody asked me, what do I think of ebooks? I can tell you right now, Brian, you're going to love this. I railed against ebooks because I know the value of tactile learning. And that's all I took it under. That's all I took it under was, well, tactile learning is you to see it, to feel it, to experience it, and what have you, to limit yourself to all these things went through my mind because I'd never used one. So I had no experience with it. And I didn't have a viable reason other than it was something different. And my own experience for all these years had been limited to, the real book. So then I got an ebook reader, got a Kindle. And it is fabulous. It allows me now to carry most of my library with me rather than filling up 2 to 3 to 4 rooms in the house, floor to ceiling books. But I looked at it and I thought I'd use it for everything. And it's a great tool for some things. It's an awful tool for study, because going back and forth to get back to a different principle or a concept and go 40 pages over, it's easier to have a book. It's easier to have the physical book. So I use it as the tool that it is. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm not limited by anybody else. And I'm not limiting myself because it's a good tool. Now, having said all that, is there a better way? Am I inspired by an idea to make improvements or to do something differently with it or to do something similar, or to tie it in maybe with an educational system of some sort, tie it into online? And now we're looking at the iPad, right? Now we've got an actual tablet that can be tied into a lot of different, not even apps, educational opportunities, work opportunities, other opportunities that now the whole world's opened up by this little portable tablet that's the size a little bigger than a Kindle. Somebody thought of that and said, well, where can I go with this? How can we do this? Because intuitively they knew it was a good idea.
So I got a funny story about the ebooks.
Okay.
I was in Barnes & Noble with my ex, and they were pitching her the ebook, and I just grabbed a book like this, and I'm sitting there and I'm reading this, and he's going through all these points, and he goes, the battery life on this is huge. And I said, yeah, but the battery life on this doesn't go dead. And he goes, yeah, and I can fit 3,000 ebooks into this Kindle or this Nook. And I said, yeah, and you're going to read those all at once, right? And so I'm just totally derailing his pitch. So he turns to me at the end of everything when Don left, and he goes, your points are well taken. And I just had to laugh because it was interesting to me that the salesperson saw that, these books may be a good idea rather than the electronic. But I like the electronic too, but I can't sit here and take notes without having a book unless I've got another computer. So you're right, Charlene. The book.
They're tools. Come on, guys. They're tools. You like the tool, let's make another one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly where my mind was going as you were talking about this. Well, why are you bitching about a tool? Let's go make a bigger one. Let's go make a better one. And that's what I tell myself, right? And we hear, well, the mousetrap works. Why change it? Well, because intuitively I know that there's a better way to do it.
In some cases.
So I'm going to go out and I'm going to pursue that.
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no.
That's true. But you don't know unless you move forward with it. Stifling yourself before and trying to convince what you know is a good idea isn't a good idea.
So in my case, I tried to go forward and I wanted to switch to an Android or an iPhone.
You're switching tools. I'm talking about making a new tool.
No, I know, but I wanted to go forward, and I tried to go forward and found that it was a hassle. Mm-hmm. So I decided not to be hassled.
I love that because I did the same thing. I won't buy a bigger smartphone, put it that way, not a particular brand, but a bigger smartphone, because my husband's using one and I don't like the size. I don't like the way it fits in my palm. I don't like that it's touchscreen. Okay. So I go back to the tool that works for me, but I'm not creating anything out of that. If I have an idea though, that there's a better way or a different way or an opportunity here. So for instance, would be Phone Falcon is a startup out of Louisville, Kentucky. And the idea that they came up with was smartphone repair. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound real original because other people have been doing it. So what they did, instead of having a brick and mortar where you had to drop your stuff off to them, is they did, basically what they did was they did a lean startup, which is what you're supposed to do. Go ask the people what they want. And they designed we will come to you. This is what we will do. This is how much it will cost. Wherever you are in this regional area, we will come to you and we will have it returned, repaired in such and such amount of time for this amount of money. And it's growing because they saw an opportunity. And then they refined the opportunity. Refine the idea because they knew it was a good idea. The guy who started it, Gil, he knew it was a good idea. And then he got some people around him and they had talked it over with potential customers, talked to people. What is it that you want? What is it that you do? How do you all the stuff that goes into it. And then along the way, they've been refining it and refining it. It's a money-making endeavor. So they saw an opportunity.
And went for it. Had
the idea of what it could be. Went for it means that they started asking these questions. It's not just a matter of jumping in and going, though. They were convinced it was a good idea, and then they started asking the questions and moved forward with it. So in probably another 3 to 4 years, there'll be an overnight success. But I don't know. What I do know is that that's an example of not saying no right away. And Nelson, you were saying it when it was presented to you with tools, right?
Mhm.
Tools that said, and I didn't, obviously, ebooks. I said no right away until I tried one. So you were asking the questions that I wasn't able to ask at the time, which is, well, I'll give it a try. I'll see if this works. I'm willing to experience it and see, so I can have a valid comparison. And saying this isn't going to work.
No, but the bottom line was it didn't work for me.
Exactly.
My kids swear by their iPhones.
Mhm.
I say good for them. I swear by my
That's it.
BlackBerry Passport.
There we are. Beautiful. All right, so we're past the top of the hour, so I'm going to stop the recording. I can keep the room open for a while if you want to continue the discussion. Thank you for joining me in the live stream. I appreciate both of you, Brian and Nelson, and Matt. I know you're gone, but thank you for being here. Those in the comment section and viewing, thank you so much for being here, and those watching the replay. I'm glad you took the time to spend this time with us. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose with purpose to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.